So that's one aspect of it, which I would like to say. And second is again the fact that we need to really understand that NFT can be, collectible is one part of it, but definitely there is much more to that. And there is an ownership which will be given to the asset, and it's going to be decentralized, and you can even monetize that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So Chirag thinks that there's still a use case that gets implemented on the ground, and that if there is an opportunity for me to gauge, okay, this many things have happened with my launch of NFTs with respect to my sales, etc. But she thinks that there is analytics which are available. She thinks that there is a huge opportunity with respect to engaging the existing customers and the multiple types of NFTs also. We'll come to the multiple types of NFTs. Now there's okay, why not? Aman, please.
All right. So I'm sitting here after losing 6 digits in NFT, but I'm very much bullish on that. So I think NFT is the best creation so far, specifically from the Web3 side of things. Let me just tell you a few instances. While I agree that there are brands which have adopted it, there are price, but actually price is something which actually develops the interest in people, right? Agar aaj Bitcoin $30,000 nahi hota, nobody would have been sitting in this room, right? Had it been like only $30, everyone would have been just like probably not be interested in that. So price develop the interest develop different ideas which actually comes in the market. So NFTs are nothing but you're investing in the religion, right? And this religion is of a culture. And this culture is dominated by the community. And this community is the one which is owned by the brands, right? So if the community is owned by the brands and the brands can actually leverage the power of community, can actually help creating new kind of products, it is more beneficial for the brands in terms of top line and the bottom line. Let me just tell you a few instances. NFTs have actually allowed people sitting in tier 3 to start monetizing their talent and art to the global audience. How many of you have imagined that somebody would have been sitting in Rishikesh painting a portrait and then probably selling it on the streets of Rishikesh where only 20, 30 people are interested paying 100 rupees, whereas the NFTs can actually be sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars? If somebody is appreciating the art, why not let that art have a price? How many of you must be questioning that, what if MF Hussain have actually done the painting, which you probably would see right behind Amitabh Bachchan is of probably 30, 40 crores. And the best part about NFTs right now is it actually lets you create a fractionalization, which is not possible so far. And since it sits on blockchain, you have a beauty that these transactions are being recorded in the real time. You can't really delete it. You have the actual visibility of who are the stakeholders, who are the owners. And it actually opens up the new avenues for the brands. Why can't you become probably the first holder of the few musicians' albums, and then you can actually become a part of the fan community? Why can't you really get some kind of a benefit if you actually become the first subscriber of Tanmay Bhatt YouTube channel? So this is where the NFTs actually allow the multiple facets to open up. And I think, and I strongly disagree that there have been brands which have use case. Internet have come up so early. A computer have came up in 1991, probably would have come to our homes in 2000. Everything takes time in terms of understanding the technology, and it takes time in having the massive adoption as well.
Wonderful. Aman is a great speaker. I've been always impressed by him. But yeah, but so why don't you take up? Basal is my dear friend, lawyer, serial entrepreneur, and he's worked with brands all over. Which brand did you make $1 million last time?
No,
with NFTs?
No, I actually lost some money on NFTs.
Okay.
Yeah, but have made in other ways. So, yeah, so, just wanted to, since I'm sort of for the motion here, although I'm conflicted in some ways because I also happen to have majority ownership in a company which, does a lot of work in the NFT space. So I'm clarifying
why he knows the fail-safe measures.
Yeah. Okay. I think a few things that I think are very relevant, which I need to emphasize from a sort of legal regulatory point of view, is that a lot of cases have happened where there's been an NFT sale or a trade, but the copyright was not actually licensed. We saw that with Meta Birkins, I tried to use the Hermes logo. Ultimately Hermes did succeed in the New York court. for the reason that they didn't take a proper consent. Patents on software is not possible. So that leaves the question, what is an NFT? If it's blockchain technology, is it a software? There can only be two classifications. It's either art or it's software. If it's software, you can't have a patent on a NFT. The question is, how do you make royalties? It's easy to say that, I mean, when I was in Dubai last, there were at least 4 projects that pitched to me. They were film NFT. So they were crowdfunding movies. I asked them the same question because there was a case where, you know, Quentin Tarantino's rights were being used for an NFT project. And then again, they were sued because they didn't take the permissions. So what needs to be very clear is that the avatars you make, the assets you make, it has to come with license rights. Jack Dorsey's tweet, which was all over the media, ultimately, it only gave the NFT buyer a right to use, display, etc. Commercial exploitation, ownership of the content or the ownership of the actual work does not transfer ipso facto, right? So from that angle, I think there's been a really, less awareness being shared. Typically, when you go to OpenSea, Rarible, Magic Eden, wherever you buy your stuff, you just ignore those license terms, right? No one actually sees it. So that's one thing where I feel that, better information and knowledge needs to be given so that there are less breaches and violations of law and less cases are filed which restrict that utilization. That's just something I wanted to throw into the spanner because I think what Aman was saying, sort of, I wanted to just sort of, since this is a debate, I'm interjecting and doing whatever I can to make it a debate.
Once again, I'd like to add to that point, Vatsal, but as you said that there have been an issues with the transfer of the IP. So in few cases, there have been, the IP has been transferred successfully. And in those cases, you have seen that particular project flourish massively, right? So it's not exactly like that is the issue when we're talking about it's whether the company or the project is transferring the IP or not, that comes into the question. And as long as we are talking on NFT, see, I believe NFT is a technology, as the gentleman mentioned, and even as my fellow colleague said, right? It is not exactly the monkey picture that we see, right? With NFT, it opens up a lot of different kinds of business models that brands can, come up with. Previously, it used to be either I can go on a subscription model, you pick up any company, Netflix, Hotstar, or any of the company, or either it's the advertisement model where the customer is I'll show the ads, I'll make the revenue. With NFT, you can bring in a new kind of business model that can be enabled, with the entire blockchain, not just the NFT, with Web3 as whole. And that's where I think brands can benefit, where our primary question was, have the brands been benefiting or not? So if the brands use that particular part well enough, so there have been like fractional ownership marketplace in real estate, right? The music IP, as we were mentioning with Vatsal, the music IP ownership. So those are the different use cases that have been coming up. And in that front, the brands who are using it perfectly, Nike, as you said. So it's about how we use it. The technology is there. You use it in a right way. It will open up some new avenues.
Perfect. Perfect. Rahul, just like a follow-up point to what Sagar just mentioned, right? And you talked about Nike and I already gave a disclaimer that you can't take Nike and Starbucks as an example because everybody just does that, right? But why, if that is the case, not more brands have been able to use it more effectively?
I want to say the same thing.
Taco Bell, Coachella, Mercedes,
So, but these are all
Lamborghini, bring it any S&P 500 company, they have an exposure. Recently, I went to Barclays. They're creating their virtual branch in the metaverse, which will allow the access to the people to go in with the NFTs. Pick it, any S&P 500 company, they have some kind of an exposure or already started developing the NFT side of things because they are not looking for generation to cater between 40s and 50s. For them, the next generation, which is the Gen Z and millennials, are the ones which are more going to be interacting with that.
Also, when you ask this kind of question, it's like, why every company is not Reliance in the stock markets, right? So when we talk about investment perspective,
I'm getting the feeling that by the end of this conversation, there'll be a few friendships that have ended. It's
When is Lakshmi?
But I think we should let Anirudh speak on the licensing part, then I will add a line on
I'm not going to licensing just yet. I think just want to actually keep the conversation to brands, which is what we started with. But I also want to start by saying something in support of Chirag. I'm kind of changing ship here, but you know, I am not fully. I mean, I think this is a maturing industry. It is not a mature industry, and we have been in a hype cycle for a while. And in any hype cycle like this, which exists for and continues and amplifies for so long, unfortunately, the kind of questions you're asking will be asked, and they're warranted, right? But I don't think that we should let the hype or the price of my NFT on OpenSea overshadow the technological shift that this represents, right? And that's the point that I want to really stick to. On brands as well, I think the problem is that most brands, because it is a hype, most brands see this as an opportunity, as a one-off marketing opportunity to kind of, just ride this wave. And those are not great examples, right? But if you look at brands, unfortunately, Nike, I mean, they are some of the stellar examples, right? But if you look at brands that have successfully managed to create narratives, build stories, build communities, the kind of engagement that we're seeing, and there's academic research to say that while these communities, NFT-based communities may be smaller, but the levels of engagement we are seeing are extraordinarily high, right? So I think brands, when look at these opportunities and build on them meaningfully, I think there's a lot being done very successfully.
Also, sorry,
Just
just to sort of add to, I mean, again, Anirudh does allude to what I was about to say, that we usually take examples of Tiffany's, we usually take examples of Louis Vuitton. They've done a recent NFT collection actually for no, Porsche is an example. So I'm saying, look, let's look at this room, right? How many people here own a Tiffany necklace? Like, when you have to speak to the audience, and India is an economy which typically is what we are calling the Bharat economy. So from a a relevance perspective, right? Where are you benefiting? So if I am a trader, and I can potentially flip the NFT, which is the majority reason why why the NFT market started. So look, DeFi, NFT all came later, right? The genesis was Bitcoin, but everything else that's happened was part of the hype cycle. And the liquidity that was provided to these NFTs is where the liquidity pools have dried up, because that was what was driving those NFTs up. It wasn't really community. But I would make an exception as well. I'll also go on that side of the table for a bit and say that there are projects which have established, and these projects are including Lazy Lions, you have CryptoPunks, you have Bored Apes, Mutant Apes. These are projects where you've seen stickiness, because even when the hype cycle was ending, the owners did not just sell their NFTs. They didn't sort of liquidate it, and that's what's kept the price going. And for someone who actually spent months on understanding the underlying economics of the NFT market, my main conclusion was that majority of these projects were highly centralized. So it's basically the project owner using the same ways as any other DEX, having market making folks, having algo trading guys, keeping the price up till the time it needs, and then once they made their money, they don't care. Liquidity dries up, price drops down. So if we're looking from a brand point of view, then what you need to look at is loyalty-based NFTs. Those, I think, certain brands have only been able to crack. I have personally interacted with over 20, 30 Indian companies who've asked me for advice from the standpoint of one of my portfolio companies. And ultimately, I haven't seen them move beyond the first conversation. And I think it's just a one-time thing. You launch an NFT, and then what? How do you keep your users engaged? And I think that's where we need to focus the debate.
I've got one more track. So Rohit, you come from a gaming studio side business.
Yeah, create economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you make the last million? When was last week?
Sorry.
When did you make your last 1 million using by NFTs?
Yeah. So See, actually, I wanted to add on to the licensing part, what we were talking about. So I majorly come from a creator economy space, moreover in the gaming space. And I know, most of y'all are aware that, gaming as an entertainment platform is rapidly growing. And one of the major advantages is that the tech adopters in this space are huge, right? They are already using tech to play and to consume content. So ideally, they would be one of the first options or the early options when it comes to newer technologies. So a couple of things that I have been noticing in the past few years, one of them being that, we have had inquiries from brands and from vendors and from individuals where they have leveraged the idea that people do not understand NFTs yet. They reach out to creators. They tell them that, hey, what if I pay you a monthly stipend? Okay, I'll pay you like 30,000 a month, 50,000 a month or whatsoever. You essentially give your content rights to us and we will make NFT pieces out of it, whether it's video content piece, whether it's your image, whether it's you doing something unusual on your live stream or whatsoever. And they, have ended up manipulating the creators in such a way that you are getting fixed money every month. Like what's better than that, right? And, fortunately, unfortunately, a lot of these creators, majority pool comes from your tier 2, tier 3 part of India, who would probably opt for this and, not have enough knowledge about how, who holds the license or who holds the rights, right? So that is one side. And another side, it's being manipulated is also that they are being asked to push NFTs as influencers in order to push the price or in order to push the value of an NFT. So in the creator space, so all this was happening probably about 2 years ago. And, people started losing their rights on anything and everything that they're making, which eventually it started reaching a point that even when brands were genuinely reaching out to push NFTs, promote NFTs, creators started taking a step back saying that, hey, this space is very tricky or this space is not doing justice to us. And, that kind of started leading us to taking a step back from NFTs.
Great. For some, it is about brands understanding or brands getting the opportunity to capture people's content and do certain, whatever here and there stuff. And not getting to having the creators themselves monetize it. For some, it is about opportunity of having a community in place. And like Aman mentioned that if there is a community, okay, yeah, if there is a community, then Anirudh mentioned about there are communities that you're able to monetize it. So with how you want to monetize your community with respect to NFTs, my second track and the last track after which I would like to take a few questions also is these people believe there is a community and that brands can benefit with it. So Srishti, start with you. What do you think about community creation, brand, and how can brands or creators leverage it?
Sure. So I'll like to add 2 points before I talk about brands creating community. So one part, I think what I agree is that, we are at a hype cycle currently where there is a lot of adoption and awareness that needs to be done. And I'd like to compare this to cloud computing as a technology also. It's been over 10 years that the technology has been in place, but banks are still not able to leverage that. They're still working on data centers and not able to leverage that completely. So I think we are at a stage, yes, we do not need to go and talk to our clients and explain that blockchain is not Bitcoin and blockchain tech NFTs are different. But between brands, what I'd like to say here is that there are some early adopters, like you're talking about Nike and all the big brands, because they do understand, they believe, they think decades ahead. Like you talk about JP Morgan, right? JP Morgan has its own digital asset platform. They are doing tokenization. NFT is a very small part of it. They are hosting their own nodes. DBS is hosting their own nodes, blockchain nodes as a service, and they're doing all the work. So they think 4 to 5 decades ahead. They know that this technology is going to be there. So there's one part of it that, brands not able to even convince their management that, okay, this is actually a technology that we need to go ahead, and these are real challenges and bottlenecks that even people in the enterprises are facing. So that's one aspect of it. And second, what I think I would agree to what Vatsal is taking is about how do we actually revolutionize this, that people are able to use it, like you're talking about, the daily users can use this, is when this is actually going to become mobile native. And the user experience part of it is again is at a transient right now, where if people in this space, they'll be hearing about account abstraction happening and how interoperability, different wallets is actually creating some kind of nuisance to the users while they're actually using this technology. And there is already work being done in that respect, and it's not far ahead. There are big payment giants who are actually building NFT platforms in India only on permissioned ledgers, where it's not going to be far away that on your mobile, while you're using UPI, you'll be able to create your own NFT, mint your own NFT, and maybe transfer it to your friend, have your own exchange, like whenever you're going to we do these exchanges, right? When we go to vacations, we settle the expenses. You can do that with NFTs, and all that kind of innovation is not far away. Yes, I would not say it's the next year, but these are things that are happening. And to come to your point about communities are not built in a day. It builds with the conviction. It builds with how the users are going to start using it. It's influencers will not build the community. I think users will build the community, and there's a lot of work in that momentum happening, and it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
Okay, on the community side of things, how many of you are Harry Potter fans, or how many of you are like Super Mario Bros fans, right? Both these inventories are in itself billions of dollars, right? But what happens if you have to create a comic book of Harry Potter, right? You would not be able to recognize that particular community of Harry Potter or probably Super Mario Bros, right? But with NFTs, you can actually monetize the fandom. It actually lets you to create the derivatives of the work, and these derivatives of the work can be actually monetized with the Harry Potter core community, which is globally present. And this allows the community to start adopting this new phenomena, to start creating the multiple talent. There has been a talk on like creating a decentralized storytelling. I definitely foresee in 10 years down the lane, there will be Dharma production, or there will be all the production houses which will be owned by all of us, not by the intermediaries who takes most of the money and the profit, by creating super interesting films which are being watched by all of us. But why not this Dharma production is being owned by the community, where the storytelling is completely decentralized. You can get the instant feedback from the community, and the community is already there, right? You have to just engage, probably bring in more kind of a masala to keep them alive, not just talk about the price action, which has been happening in some of the communities, but most of them are trying to actually create some derivatives of the work. So this is a point.
Small question to the crowd here.
I'd like to add to this.
Yes, Sagar,
Like we
after
are
you
speaking,
finish then.
so we are
please finish.
speaking about the communities, like everyone spoke that there are communities, but on the like audience perspective, there comes a point wherein how do we build those communities, right? How do brands build those communities? That's the very genuine thing that comes up.
My question itself will help you. How many people or anyone from a brand here in the crowd? Anybody thinks want to create a community to elevate their sales? Anybody? Nobody?
Rahul, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. There are enough companies who have 500 million users, 400 million. We keep throwing these numbers, right? We look at Paytm, right? In the simplest terms, a easy use case of NFTs is certificates. Just get certificates on chain, create provenance. I've personally spoken to universities. The challenge is they want it for free. How do you build a business around it? The gas fee, who pays gas fee? No one talks about gas fee, right? Gas fee is gone to gas. So who pays the gas?
So whatever work these guys are doing is all for free.
No, so business.
You guys are working for free.
No. So Rahul, business models have been built and currently are built only on investment money. This is fund money that is being burned to create a business model, just like any other, enterprise tech sector.
Well
The,
said.
the revenue model comes once there is mainstream adoption. Now, in this, the challenge is coming in as to how do you make a revenue case. What Aman you mentioned about film DAOs, who is really benefiting? It'll be the person acting in the movie, it'll be the person funding the movie. But in any movie, there's a huge production cost that someone is paying. So legally, they have the right to exploit it commercially. That's why they acquire the IP rights. In NFTs, firstly, we should stop using the word NFT, make it simpler. If you look at loyalty reward credit points, they're like NFTs. Why can't I call them an NFT? And these are the questions that the common person is asking, right? One of the potential people I was talking to, again, enterprise level, they said, why do I need a certificate on chain when I have DigiLocker? So I think where the reason is, if there are no brands in the room, why? We should ask that. And which brands in India who already have a use case and have not done it, right? A loyalty. I'll give you an example. I can have a
Would love
current
that.
avatar.
Uh.
Last example is an anecdote. And we've had discussions with a unicorn company on this. Have an avatar and keep building a universe around that avatar based on what you're buying, right? That adds to the metadata. That metadata becomes valuable. That metadata can then be monetized, just like any other data is monetized. You're really being able to identify the user's choices. That is where you can sell a picture to the brand. A brand will only invest in something if they make at least 10 to 100x on it. And I think it's the revenue model, just like most NFT revenue models, even in GameFi, that have crashed. We used to use the word there was this game, right, which everybody was using. That was in Philippines. There were poor people who lost money. Some of them have gone bankrupt, right? Because the tokenomics was not making sense. So whether you look at NFTs from a GameFi perspective, play to earn, you look at brands, you look at asset class, and everything has to be dissected.
There is a Chirag for you. Just in continue, you work very closely with a Swiss-based DeFi consulting firm, and what do you think? Do brands give money to people who want to talk about NFTs? Yes or no? And if no or little, over to you.
I think the larger conversation has to be around the creator economy, right? And creator economy is become pretty much a buzzword right now, right? Especially in the Web3 circles, because apparently Web3 is going to do something amazing for the creator community. But you have to remember the fact that creator community has existed way before blockchain and crypto, right? Just take the example of something that all of us use right now in this room, Spotify. What Spotify did was it created a community of creators who were not able to monetize their music. And they said that you create your music, put it on my platform. If it sells, you get a cut of it, right? So creator economy has existed for a while now, right? And there are enough and more Web2 models which have found a way to monetize and benefit those creators, right? And going back to Aman's point, right? The challenge and the example that he gave with respect to the film DAO, right? The challenge has been that the value transfer has not been effective, right? The creators have still not been able to create enough value out of what they published to be able to sustain themselves or create wealth and value. And that has been the argument with respect to the creator community. Now, the entire thesis of NFTs as a tool for for a creator community was that there will be more transparent value transfer. The middleman, as the word that was used, will get eliminated, and hence my dollar will directly go in the pocket of a creator whose product or service I'm consuming, right? If that happens, that changes the business model completely, right? And if that happens, that's great, because Gen Z or whatever alphabet we are at right now, right? I think there's this huge tendency for them to be entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, which is essentially what creator community is about, right? So it gives them wings. Will that happen? Will that not happen? Maybe that's a conversation for another day, right? But that's really where we are as far as the industry is concerned.
Great. What also happened before we start the session, I generally try to bring all the panelists in one room, talk to them, sit down, set up the agenda, sort of prepare ourselves. Srishti was talking to me about a success story. Over to you.
So I'd like to share about a few of the use cases we had done with enterprises, particularly for NFT. So with one of the leading beverage companies, We've done two, now we've actually done two use cases with them. One, we started with a sustainability initiative where they wanted to track the bottles from a recycling perspective. They already had created an app, which is like a Recycle Me app, and they wanted people to actually, they get information on where the bottle is, track the bottles. And we don't realize that, tracking of these bottles actually has a lot of monetary value for the beverage companies. So what we did was we created an NFT initiative coming from the sustainability perspective, that through a QR code, you scan the bottle. And for the user, the incentive is simple, that there is a reward mechanism and a loyalty mechanism associated for the user. But for the enterprise as such, the enterprise is able to track the bottle, is able to get information about the user, the habits, and also the demographics, the geography. So this was one use case which I feel actually had an inherent value to the enterprises as well as the user base, because the user is actually earning loyalty rewards and getting benefits from being a loyal customer.
Incredible. Sagar.
I'd like to add to the similar kind of example. How many of you know Ray-Ban as a brand? Raise your hand. Most of people know Ray-Ban as a brand, right? So with Ray-Ban, we have seen that there have been a lot of knockoffs coming in to the market, not just Ray-Ban, but with any of the companies that that are into luxury goods or something of that kind. So when we are talking about key NFTs on the certification part, Vatsal said that certification, why should it be on blockchain? Why is it necessary? So when we talk about these particular brands, luxury brands, let us assume, what if you have, like, there have been systems being built, but still we are assuming, or see, there is a luxury bag or something kind of, and an NFT is issued as a proof of originality or proof of authenticity for that particular bag. Now a super knockoff guy or some dealer in China, he can replicate the exact bag, but on chain he won't be able to replicate the exact NFT which is issued by Louis Vuitton or issued by Ray-Ban or any of that particular company. So that's where I think those particular use cases, or we say that, as I previously said, again, it's upon the business models that we create using the technology that would be the ideal
Authenticity.
scenario.
So
that brings
basically,
it.
authenticity wise, you can utilize this. Essentially is covering the types of NFTs. Rather than giving definitions, this panel is walking the talk, talking the
I think we will move from user generated content to user generated products. There will be companies which will start releasing the blank canvas so that all the community members can decide. If it's a month of June, let's not focus on different gender. Let's actually create products for LGBT. If it's a Halloween week, let's create some kind of a marketing campaign which is driven by the community, and the community who would suggest the better ideas get some kind of royalties on top of it. So I think this phase of user generated products and user generated campaigns, user generated services is actually coming with the help of NFTs. That's where we lead it to.
incredible.
Rahul, I just
They-
wanted to just segue
These
into a
people
little.
are talking too much success stories. All
Yeah.
big brands again.
No.
Same Nike.
No, I
same
think
big
it's more prospective,
Yeah.
what they're saying, and I completely resonate. Like a prospect, these are all prospect cases, right? We're referring to ideas mostly and potential products in the pipeline, right? But where I do see, and I'm gonna sort of change my hat a little bit, where I do see value is real world use cases. I think it's carbon credits is a great example, supply chain, real estate, financial products, right? Fractionalizing even
Partial ownership.
private equity funds, fractionalizing limited partnership pools. We are seeing success stories there of the underlying technology. And I think that's where now, for whatever reason, it's taken a little while, but enterprises are more keen, brands are more keen on that technology, provided one, it doesn't come at a huge premium. Two, they're able to monetize that. So I think if we can crack the monetization piece, I think whether Chirag or me or Rohit on this side is just for today, but we're all trying to work in the ecosystem to get brands to see that. But to do that, you have to have a clear revenue case. But that doesn't take away, like Shrishti said, the genuine use cases which are building on, traceability, provenance, authenticity. That is the only thing. And an NFT should be defined as a simple thing. It's just a digital asset representation.
And,
It's an-
payments.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We should refer it as a token rather than the NFT.
It was a credit. It's a credit in your bank. It's like a pepper fry credit, right? And you can use it for other products. It's the same. If the farther we remove the definition from the user, and the technology from the user, it gets harder. But
I think most of the businesses are being abusely looked at like the monetization from the financial part. This is a new wave of monetization from an emotional part as well, right? If you are definitely involved with the community, we have a big example in the country, Patanjali. He started the community of yoga aspirants and then emotionally and spiritually and through the health benefits monetized with respect to the products he has launched. Right. So it is also the emotional and a motivational benefit that I have AR Rahman new albums pass, from which maybe potentially later down 3 years down the lane, if he's creating some kind of a club, I'm a part of it. Right.
but now-
we all show off as a part of press club in India. What is the monetization benefit which you and I get apart from that networking?
The moment that
Great.
I'm giving you an example, I'm just being devil's advocate. With generative AI, let's say 2 years down the line, I can anyways make a AR Rahman song, right? Hear me out. Yeah, so fandom will remain for.
That and then still have that community involved and buying that content.
Yeah, so let's say I join a Discord group. That's what usually DAOs are being controlled by. Discord groups are very chaotic. I'm sure we both spend time on it. Where how do you really decision make? It's most DAOs, and there was a research report. I'm happy to share it with you, where the underlying research pinned it down that 90% of DAOs are centralized. Now, and any NFT project can only succeed if it is centralized, because that's the only way the price of the NFT can stay up. You have to control the supply. And that is the underlying market dynamic, whether it's whatever markets you want to play in. We all know that. And I think that's why I was saying that the underlying technology can be used for genuine real world asset classes.
No, so there's a difference here. What you're talking about, a community and a price, then again, you're going to the collectibles part of it. That's kind of very different from the fact that you're trying to build a community. Community will be built where, like he said about Patanjali, there's a real value that is being given to the end user, right? With respect to yoga, mental health, and then the products are actually facilitating on that. When you actually solve a real pain point or a problem, that's when the actual community will come into place. Not so, and that's why I'm kind of differing from what you're saying, because it's kind of mixing two things. So when you create these communities with an inherent value, yeah,
Both sides,
yeah.
both sides are true friends.
And just one last thing I'd like to say about
You
the
have to take a few
technology in
questions here.
itself is that, of course, you mentioned one thing that, this can be done before blockchain also. So blockchain is not a silver lining, right? The actual problem that it solved was the payment being sent over the internet without an intermediary in a fraction of few seconds with no delays. And that's how this technology started working on. And these are all, different wings that have actually come out from that. And so, yeah.
I would like to
Perfect.
just add
I
one
think
line,
no,
one line.
One line, just
So
one line.
basically, when we are thinking about NFTs,
Yeah.
everyone, be it that side or this side or that side as well, it boils down to the first statement that we had, that NFTs are not just the artwork that we should be thinking about, and
Exactly.
the other thing that we discussed.
Exactly. So with this, we already have times up. I'm getting this, 6 hand signs from the other side. 2 questions. Okay, ma'am. I have so many questions. Ma'am, your question first. But we're happy to take questions. The panel is right here, so happy to take your questions offline. Yeah.
Okay. So,
You want to address your question too?
yes, to the panel entirely,
Okay.
whoever wants to answer. So I'm Radhika. I work with the Chain Project. I'm a Web3 lawyer. My question is, why aren't we talking about ticketing NFTs? It meets all the criteria. You're catering to the creator economy, you're catering to the consumer market and to the fan communities. And there's a revenue generation model as well. So what are your thoughts on that? Why aren't we pushing that more?
Can I just answer this with a personal anecdote? So one of my friends runs music festivals, and I suggested use of NFTs for tickets. He said that, on the existing platforms, which is Insider, and there's one more called something Box, they have partnerships with brands. They get, and they actually can get brands to sponsor that event as well. Whereas the companies that are doing NFT ticketing don't have those budgets. So distribution is the problem. If Patanjali wants to today launch NFTs, yes, they will succeed, but they're not doing it. You have to have distribution. The product is sexy, great, everything. But the distribution is not there. So Insider, if I have to list an event, I will go to Insider. That's the challenge. But yes,
Perfect.
it's a perfect use case.
Great.
There are companies doing it.
You can take
for-
next second question. So you can take the second question. Yeah, the last question.
Hi, my name's Aditya and I'm a Web3 brand strategist. My question is to all the panelists. So I saw good cases, from both sides in terms of loyalty and community as well, and it's a really good conversation to have. But, seeing the element around the implementation of NFTs from a lot of brands, and like Porsche was not a really good case, a lot of niche brands that have done well, but for the masses, it still comes as a question. So the question is NFTs really required as a jargon in this conversation? Because to the masses, they do care or they don't care. That's the big question.
Okay, so Chirag, you take the question.
I
Will
think
you?
you are spot on when you say that, what is this fuss about NFTs, right? And that's pretty much what every industry expert is also saying, that, just the day technology becomes seamless, right? And that's what Starbucks is trying to do. I don't want you to realize that you're buying an NFT or you're receiving an NFT for loyalty. All I want you to do is experience the power that it enables you in terms of engaging with the brand, right? So that is the last frontier, right? As when Web3, blockchain, crypto, tokens, NFTs, whatever you call it, right, reach that stage is really when adoption will kick in. And again, I go back to the statement that we had in the last conversation, that technology has to adopt to people, right? People will not adopt to technology.
Great.
So,
I think
Perfect.
Go ahead.
One more question. So we've got live, we're doing live. So Vandana is here. Vandana, any one question for Anirudh?
Yes.
Whatever questions comes, Anirudh is expert to answer.
Yeah. So we have been
Last big
receiving
question.
quite a few questions on the LinkedIn Live. This event is being live streamed on Rahul Sethi's LinkedIn profile. Around 200, 300 people have joined already, last I checked.
Question.
The question is, I'm going to read one out of all. That is, what strategies can brands adopt to ensure the long-term value and utility of their NFT offerings?
Okay, 1 minute for you, Anirudh.
I think we already touched upon that, right? That brands typically are, because there has been this continuing hype, the wave, a lot of brands are looking at this as a one-off marketing opportunity to ride the wave. And that, to me, is not the right branding strategy. Create narratives, create communities. That's the way I think.
I think loyalty,
Perfect.
fan engagement, to answer to this question, loyalty, fan engagement, new product ideas, customer suggestion, and like instant suggestion from the community as well. So I think to package it in a manner, it's like ultimately user engagement. Is that what I would answer?
Okay, if this side were to say, they'll say IP protection, take care of it. The other side would say, okay, whether, their brand will take over the creator's content. So you got to be, I think, we got to be speaking to these experts here who will be available, of course, after this session as well. But thank you very much, everybody, for the questions, interaction. Thank you. Thank you, panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rahul sir, as well. Everybody wants for him for moderating this. And I don't know if they asked you this, but Rahul, what side are you on? Are you for the motion, against the motion? नहीं सर, ये तो आपने बतरा सा वाला जवाब दे दिया. But okay, audience, for the motion, how many of you? For the motion, audience? Against? Now against the motion? बाकी जो लोग, they're all Rahul sir's side. On both the sides. Please, a picture. Come. A picture, please, come. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Please. And with that, we come to our last panel discussion for today. Well, mind you, it's only day one. We also have another engaging day waiting for us tomorrow, followed by the inaugural awards ceremony on the same topic for the same. The panel discussion is on shifting to Web 3.0 and blockchain gaming, adoption and challenges. Please join me in welcoming our panelists for the same. Abhishek Agarwal, co-founder and CEO, Trinity Gaming India. Parth Chadda, CEO and co-founder, Stan. Manish Agarwal, founder and custodian, Indie GGDAO. Dhruv Garg, head, legal and policy, AIGF. And this session will be chaired by Sharmili Daru, founder, Sharmili Daru PR, and 4WD Gaming. Let's please welcome them with a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Please. Audience, please let's welcome them. You know what? Why do I ask you for help? Because the session chair for this is also thinking this is just the last session. Is the audience going to listen to this? Are you wanting to listen to the session or not? Just please give us some confidence here. Though she's not carrying now, she's got all her confidence, but it's okay. Sharmili, they're all asking that, they're all for you. They're all saying that they want to listen to this. So please, we hope that your energy is back now. Yeah. All the best.
Hi guys, sorry, I think internet issue here. Hi guys, hi everyone. So I think it's very clear we are finally here coming, looking. It looks like I am biased here, but we do believe we're from the gaming side and Web3 gaming, where we see the best use case for gaming, for Web3 being gaming, right? We have some of the good co-founders, founders, and some very strong speakers who are going to share their viewpoint on what makes Web3 gaming, right? We're going to address points from esports perspective, community building, play and earn concepts, and where we have here, influencers, right? I want everyone to just introduce themselves. I'm not sure if anyone knows the gaming side of it, but please.
Hi everyone, I'm Dhruv Garg. I'm a tech policy lawyer, work very closely on gaming, Web3. Today I'm representing All India Gaming Federation, which works very closely with gaming generally. So yeah, that's.
Hello guys, Abhishek Agarwal this side. I'm the founder and CEO of Trinity Gaming India. We are the leading gaming content and marketing company coming out from India. We are supporting the overall gaming ecosystem to develop and gamers to monetize their craft.
Hi, everyone. This is Parth, leading Stan. Stan is a community play for esports. We are doing a derivative through NFTs and collectibles for esports, targeting mainly the Gen Zs and millennials. I think everybody here would be targeting the same.
Hi everyone, Manish here.
Hi everyone, this is Manish here. I started a startup last year, which is around building gamers community across the emerging markets. It's called IndieGG. And lovely. I don't know how many of you are interested in gaming. With raise of your hands, if you can really share. I think we can make this panel more interactive. What you guys want to know? A few of the brave souls which have stood by the day. And yeah, it's been a long day. So Sharmili, let's make it easier for them.
Sure. I'm actually going to start with what everyone's going to say, and we'll pick up along the way. I do believe Web3 is new. Web3 gaming is more exciting, and absolutely everyone's learning along the way. So my first question, we know that a lot of discussion and policy has been taking place. So let's have Dhruv and Manish throw some light there. So Dhruv, can you tell me what are the challenges you're facing? What do you think are the solutions? Something on a more basic level at the Web3 gaming level, where we can throw light on the gaming side of things.
Sure. So to begin with, I think the biggest challenge that Web3 generally, and especially even if you talk about Web3 gaming, is that Web3 is a technology, right? There are multiple facets to it, right? You could have tokens, you can have cryptocurrencies, as they say, you can have NFTs, you can have different use cases with tokens and NFTs, correct? And gaming is one application of the technology.
Sure.
The problem is that right now governments across the globe, and specifically in India, correct, are looking at this whole technology with one single lens, correct? Sometimes they assume it's only about speculation in a market, correct? The issues that they look at money laundering, they look at whether there's KYC, etc., cross-border transaction, whether what will be the impact on the monetary and financial policy of a country. So these are the issues that they're looking at. However, what they're not looking at right now is that it is not so much about Web3, it's about what it is used for, right? So that distinction of the use cases of this technology is something I think is needed by the government and by multiple stakeholders. That clarity, bringing that clarity is one of the biggest challenges, is the necessity to have sort of give the founders and co-founders here the runway to sort of grow in a more certain regulatory framework. That I think that's one of the biggest challenges. And then obviously there are nuances to it, but I'll leave that to Manish.
I think very well put, Dhruv. Fundamentally, in any evolving space, there would be some things which is negative and there can be some positive use cases. Now, in the morning, I think Professor Damodaran said very well that as a policy maker, if you start to only build policy to address the negative aspects, then you will only build very restrictive thought process, which is going to stifle the growth. And that will not create a balanced approach. So I think from a gaming perspective, if you want to truly create a free liquid market where gamers can leverage their skill, time, fandom, then there has to be manifestation of economic value which they can earn. Whether it is about streamers, whether it's about influencers, whether it's about gamers, the core promise is that you can be the owner of your own outcome of your skill and time. And that ownership, whatever comes out of that ownership, you can trade it, you can monetize it. And that creates a beautiful freelancing market opportunities in gaming. And India could be a very strong global digital factory for the games around the world. However, if you kind of create a fear that it's illegal, if you create a fear and perception that this is something which parents should not be allowing their kids to indulge, then I think we are kind of really stifling and going back 10 years, because whether we like it or not, the adoption of principles of blockchain in gaming in the world will happen. Now, the choice is whether Indians should be allowed to partake in that opportunity or will continue to sit by the by side and let the next phase of gaming happen. I've been in gaming for 20 years, 15 years. And I have seen that we missed the bus twice. And if we continue to be with a very restrictive mindset, we'll again miss the bus. And people like me, the young Parth, Abhishek, will take the mantle of going to global conferences saying that India is a sleeping tiger and one day it will awake. I've been doing that for 15 years and I don't want them to be doing it for next 15 years.
True. Thanks. So Manish, I've also heard you say that Web3 will disrupt gaming, right? So can you tell me why you think gaming is touted as the biggest use case and adoption of blockchain?
See, if you look at from a gamer point of view, gamers don't care a fig about Web3, Web2, blockchain, all of that. Gaming is a purest form of entertainment because it is interactive and it releases dopamine. And that's what people really keep coming and playing the game again and again. And if it's a multiplayer game, every experience is a different experience. And that's the beauty of this entertainment format, which is why globally it is bigger than music. It is bigger than anything else. Now, having established that gaming is the entertainment format, the gamers, if you see, they spend considerable amount of time. Just to share with you, in India, a mid-core hardcore gamers spends roughly 60 to 90 minutes per day. Now that's a lot of time. And there, some people purchase items, some people spend time to collect items, build their own assets. Now, I can upgrade my account, I can build assets. Both of that is an outcome of the time which I've spent or money I've spent or both. Today, when PUBG gets banned, my entire effort in that game goes waste. If game doesn't even go, but if I have to move from, let's say, CSGO to a new game, every skin which I purchased, everything I've done in the game stays in that gaming ecosystem. That only happens in gaming. If you today buy a mobile phone, yes, there is a residual secondary market value and you own it. You don't have to take permission from anyone. You buy a house, you've spent the money, there is a clear ownership right, you go and sell. But in gaming, what you create, what you buy is doesn't belong to you, is not intuitive. And hence people, especially in emerging markets, continue to see that as discretionary spend. And when the mindset changes from discretionary spend to investment, your number of purchases will increase, number of times you are purchasing it will increase, and the value which you are willing to invest will be higher. And hence the revenue in the game will increase. And I have seen, if you look at history of gaming, every 5, 7, 8 years, the business models change. And that's the only reason gaming is where it is. And in 15 years, I've seen 3 gaming revenue models, business models change. And your shift in mindset from expense to investment is the primary reason why asset ownership, reputation ownership will disrupt the gaming for next 7, 8 years.
So I think there's much more value, which finally brings it to the play and earn concept. We will come back to that later. Meantime, Dhruv, any thought on this, on how it's the best use case?
Sure. So I mean, I'll just carry forward from what Manishji said. So till now, gaming and the core of gaming is that dopamine hit, correct? That interaction giving you that satisfaction in your brain, you achieving something in a pleasurable activity. That's what gaming is. Now add ownership and decentralized ownership, right? So now any asset that you create in that Web3 space, in that game is yours, right? So now you have added that economic value from the time that you spent it. So let me take a step back. So for example, till now, if you see World of Warcraft accounts were sold online, correct? PUBG skins we are talking. So in-game assets, people are crazy about in-game assets. But the problem was that if they are banned on that platform, if that platform is banned itself, or for some other reason that server is gone, correct? But now if you shift it to Web3, now they have that decentralized satisfaction that, okay, I have that trust that if I earn something from here, it'll remain there. So community around gaming becomes much more stronger when they together know that, oh, these assets that we're working together has that value and that value will remain. And the time and effort that I'm spending is giving me pleasure as well as some economic value. I think broadly speaking, just carrying from Manishji said that just adds another dimension to gaming. Additionally, the next step when we talk about metaverse, it's a very amorphous term, but I think Web3 is an integral part of metaverse. And I think we can talk about it later also, but when we go into gaming and metaverse, I think Web3 will be something that will differentiate it from what we used to call virtual space. Virtual space plus Web3 is what will make metaverse and gaming in that much more lucrative.
Thanks, Dhruv. I'm going to actually move now to the second option here of how Web3 is going to play the role and help esports kind of go further part. If you could share your point of view.
Sure. I think gaming, we look at different buckets, right? There's esports, there's real money gaming, there's hyper casual gaming. Esports is like what Manish was mentioning, like the games like the likes of PUBG, Free Fire, Call of Duty, right? So the aspect of decentralization, which Manish just touched upon, that assets being looked upon as an investment than just like a spend, is something which is remarkable. And thanks to the technology behind it, which is like smart contracts behind NFTs, right? And gaming is something which would take it to masses, but gamers don't bother about that. And esports also has a dimension of celebrity gamers, right? Like we at Stan are working with, some of the very popular gamers, esports players, right? So the connect of these gamers with their fandom is something which is interesting, right? We see like millions of eyeballs every day on YouTube. Like these guys are streaming and people are just watching. It's like just consuming, having food and just watching live streams of games, right? So that fandom piece is interestingly coupled to the use case of NFT, which is, ownership and how I can track who's owning the assets. So that demand and supply, right? So some of the interesting use cases which have prevailed is like, if I'm owning an NFT of my favorite YouTuber, I get a chance to, play with him or
I get a chance to meet him. So all these different, capabilities which blockchain is offering is something which is definitely taking esports to the next level.
Thanks, Pa. Abhishek, how do you see esports becoming more exciting with Web3 in terms of how it will change the game and the fun going forward?
Sure. So, I mean, as a community guy, I would like to boil down it to the ground reality. I mean, what Manish has said, what Parth has said is actually talking about the high level technology that is behind all the ecosystem, right? If I talk about what Web3 will do for the gamers is that it will add an additional source of monetization towards their career growth, right? As a community guy, I am always questioned by the gamers that Abhishek, how will you be able to improve my revenue? How will you, and their parents also call me that, how will you be able to increase the revenue of my kid who is playing games so that he can consider it as a full-time career option? With the introduction of Web3, I've seen so many creators all across the globe. Like in the West, there are a couple of creators by the name of Brycent and Jonah who are actually creating Web3 only content, and they are actually trading their in-game skins, as even Dhruv said. They are actually trading their in-game skins, and their fans are also trading their in-game skins in the form of NFT and making some sort of a revenue and the economy around it. So that's how I think it will be a good thing to have Web3 integrated into the Indian ecosystem. Although Manish is trying very good, I mean, with IndiGG to bring that ecosystem to India, but in India, we are still lagging behind because of the lack of education, obviously.
Absolutely. Thanks. So I'm going to stay with you, Abhishek, for your next question. We're going to move to the influencer side. Can you tell me from the creator economy and how is it going to influence or disrupt the space, right? The gaming space.
So again, as I told you, right, disruption happens with the monetization. As we see in Web2 platforms or the creators who are actually have created an economy through Web2 platforms like streaming content on YouTube, playing games like PUBG Mobile or BGMI. Although we have seen a winter season twice by getting it banned. So again, the thing is that right now, creators have a very limited scope of monetization, and I can say it is a very unilateral. They are dependent heavily on the ad revenues. I mean, in India, we have the lowest ad revenues, even lesser than Pakistan, right? And then they are dependent on super chats or tips. Again, the kind of trust the fan has on the creator to fulfill his or her demands is something we are struggling a lot. And then brands. But with Web3, again, whenever the economy is there, wherein the trading can happen of the in-game assets, or I mean, he was telling StarCraft accounts are being sold, right? They are being sold not on the ecosystem, right? They're just being sold off the market. But if we can create a market through Web3, it will be definitely a disruptive scope wherein creators, gamers, I mean, all of us as an ecosystem will be able to generate good amount of revenue and make, again, the gaming and esports a good career option.
Great, thanks. Parth, any thought there on how it's going to disrupt the creator space?
I think we are seeing a lot of creators getting, coming up thanks to COVID and, Instagram's popularity with Reels and TikTok, right? With respect to gaming, creators face a lot of, like Abhishek was mentioning, that revenue and earnings are a biggest concern for a creator's life, right? A lot of things are there, a lot of avenues in Web3 which are still not explored. I mean, people have tried creator tokens and stuff, although NFTs is something which is still running. But let's say if I'm a creator, I'm streaming on YouTube and I get to launch my token and people buy that to support me for my growth, right? So all those concepts is something which I really want to see, creating success and leading to more creators which are becoming successful, right? Like if I can fuel my favorite creators' growth in some way or the other, and I can, probably earn something out of it later down the line, or maybe I don't have, a thought about earning itself. If I'm a big fan of somebody, like, if you see something on Instagram or Reddit, we just press the like button, right? If somehow that like button gets to, give the money to the earning to the creator, then it's a different ball game. And I think probably somebody is trying that out. We are doing it with NFTs. We haven't touched the FTs and token space yet, but creator tokens is something which I'm really looking forward to. Maybe helps a budding creator, to solve for his problem of fueling the growth.
Sure, great. So, Manish, I want to ask you about, we come to actually talking about the play and earn concept, what the future of Web3 gamers looks like, careers, side incomes, everything that you can throw light on the play and earn concept for everyone.
So I think, Sharmili, there are two things which I see evolving. One is players as creators, and that channel of asset which they have created distributing could be through their own streaming, fan captive audience, it could be through P2P marketplaces and all of it. But fundamentally, how do I really create an asset which somebody sees in value inside the game, outside the game? And for that, I believe we are still very, very early. First, the games have to be very good. And I believe 24, 25 is when you start seeing some good quality games coming in. And then economies will be built on top of that. The second piece, which I believe is important, which is what at least my thesis is, that in countries like India, Indonesia, Egypt, Brazil, Nigeria, Kenya, where there is a large gamer population, these countries can offer variety of job roles to global games. That's what I have been. Before MBA, I was at Infosys, and I was a product of the body shopping, if you will, as an engineer. But we were giving our tech services to the global enterprises. And I think the amount of gaming population we have, interest in gaming, and really the deep skills. And I could really offer a job of a tester. I could offer a job of a tournament operator, Discord manager, community support, clan chief. I could do really, game tournament auditor. I can do a caster. I can do an influencer. So there can be so many job roles which global games today need, right? And why can't countries which have higher percentage of young population, large gaming adoption with huge amount of time, they become global factories for these kind of games. And this is not something which has not happened. Fashion, we have seen how Bangladesh really took off as a global hub for fashion. So my thesis is the jobs, given that global boundaries have finished, more so COVID demonstrated that there is no physical boundaries of nation which exist. And with decentralization, you're going to build new nations, new states, which have no geographical boundaries, and there'll be one common grammar language of gamers. These job roles will become very important. And these will, what Abhishek was talking about, will form careers. Now, if you really become a very good tester of a first-person shooter, nothing stops you from making a lakh or two per month, because there's a global game which is first-person shooter, which sees your track record on chain and looks at your submissions of testing which you have done, and they like you and they can reach out. So the entire concept which happened in the US of freelancer economy can and will happen within the purview of gaming is what my kind of thought process is.
Great. I think this is a good thought where we move towards what international opportunities, earning income, and basically more a global concept than just. Of course, India is growing. There's no doubt by leaps and bounds, and we're all here right at the beginning of things. And hopefully, it's working out for everyone. Anything you all want to say on careers and income or streams, please?
Although even my livelihood is paid by gamers who play games every day, right? And see, I mean, at Trinity, we have actually done a really good concept last year wherein we visited colleges and universities to explain and give awareness about gaming and how the careers can be formed along gaming. Earlier, I used to think that everybody in the educational side of business, they hate gaming, right? They always talk about, I mean, you should not play games. Otherwise, you'll spoil your career. You will not be able to stand on your feet, right? But last year, I have had interacted with so many deans, registrars, and I mean, chancellors of multiple universities, and they have actually welcomed this concept of gaming, right? And that is something India is understanding what the gaming is all about. I mean, we can now very well said that kheloge, kudoge to badoge nawab, right? So, I mean, that is the concept the gaming is bringing to the power. I don't know about how cricket or sports ecosystem grew in India because I was very small at that time. But what I have seen is in the last 4 years, I have gamers and we are managing a community of 1,000+ gamers. And on an average, these gamers are earning at least $300 or $400 per month. That is something that is remarkably very strong, right? I mean, I am an engineer when I was placed at some company, right? I don't want to take name. I was not getting more than 25,000 per month, right? So that is something really great that is happening.
Great. We've established there's great opportunity, and I think people start realizing that gaming is definitely, there's enough career space there, and more like something needs to be
Shamini,
taken.
just one point here. I think a lot of time another criticism which is thrown at gaming is that it doesn't create at mass level employment. It still is very niche, it still is very small. And I think that also we need to change. And that's why its scale, it is important. That how do we really become a factory for the world? Like we did, some 35,000 people made $5 in the month of June by playing games, but catering to a lot of quest, as we call, for the global games. Now we believe the 35,000 is just the beginning. We want to get this number to a million plus guys in India. We want to get it to a $10 to $12 per month. 50% of India's monthly income of $50 or less. So can we really make this, whether it's a primary income, micro income, supplementary income, but a meaningful income for millions of houses? I think then we will be truly talking about careers, and parents will be secure that there is stability and security. But till such time, that Nawab thing will become a goal and a dream for us to cherish.
Right. I guess public opinion molding and educating them is definitely a way. And I think we're all doing our bit. In fact, Abhishek last year did 23 towns and educating people in college and explaining what career opportunities there are. I think everyone's doing their bit, something or the other. Dhruv, anything here you want to say?
Yeah, so I think mostly a lot of things are covered. I'll just take a slightly macroeconomic view of what's happening, correct? Web3 gaming, obviously, but generally gaming, if you look, majority of Indian population is under the age of 35, correct? Ages 14 to 34 is what we are seeing that gamers, they are older gamers also, but 14 to 34 is what we recognize as core gamers. Correct? That's the population of gamers. Now, India is also going to be the largest middle income group. And this 14 to 34 in next 5 or 10 years will be forming the world's largest middle income group, correct? Earlier, what was entertainment? You had cinemas, sports, then OTTs came, everything that came. Now, entertainment, the definition of entertainment is moving towards gaming. Your streaming platform like Netflix, Amazon, these guys are looking at gaming as the next place where this middle class, huge majority of population is going to spend the next buck, right? And so gaming as an entertainment form will grow. Gaming as an earning platform will grow. Gaming at the back end of creating games, that economy will grow. And also consumption entertainment will grow. I'm saying that on a macroeconomic level, gaming is the next big thing in media entertainment and generally otherwise. But, and that's one thing. So all these things fit into that idea in next 10 years.
Superb. Great. Very positive. So Parth, you want to share something or should we, in fact, I want to ask you next question, but please, do you want to say something here?
No, I think the sleeping tiger statement, right? I really don't want to see that happening, that we are just trying to slow down our pace, because in terms of talent, infrastructure, we are definitely not missing the bus. A lot of our developers are fueling growth of Web3 companies globally. Love to see if the dollars get circulated inside the country itself, right? A lot of money is still flowing outside the country, and maybe Web3 sort of solves that for us, that the economy is circulated inside the country itself, and the gaming industry in the country sort of leverages and grows.
Nice, nice. So one of the last topics we want to discuss is going to be something I think everyone is going to be excited about, is communities, right? And I think even in the earlier panel, they were discussing communities, but we're going to talk about how we're developing the Web3 gaming communities here. I think each one is doing their own thing. They're huge, they're growing day to day. What does the future look like? What do you think is going to play? What are going to be the key, triggers to building, forming, and growing these communities?
So my take on this is we need to get all those Web2 crowd, or let's say the original or like the non-Web3 guys who don't understand MetaMask wallets or tokens, to sort of get absorbed in this in terms of use case or anything. I mean, abstraction works phenomenally well. Don't serve them anything technology, just keep serving the use case and people start absorbing it. And if it's actually a value add for a gamer or anybody in the community, it spreads like fire, right? And especially in gaming, it's a lot to do with people referring each other, bringing the next guy to come in and join, like Manish was telling about clan chiefs and stuff, right? So a lot of fueled growth happens through referrals. We see a lot of strong Discord communities, Telegram communities. In fact, we also have seen that these communities have been enablers to anything and everything we start, even if it's a new format of a game or anything which people have not seen before, right? That's why we've been very particular at solving for the user experience, that if the end user doesn't want to know about the blockchain tech or anything, let's not be loud about it. But if they start learning and enjoying it, feed them more, right? So I think the future is, I believe that's how it should be, that everybody who is Web2 should start absorbing Web3.
Why not? Why not? Absolutely. Manish, any growth triggers you see for community? What is going to be responsible key development points that you think is going to aid and build these further?
See, I think from the role which we need to play is at 3 levels. One is about engagement with policy, shaping narrative, perception, government relationships. You want a positive environment around uplifting human stories, and you do not want to be castigated as somebody who's doing chori chupke kuch kar raha hai, right? So I think that's something is very first level which needs to be done. And it's a different community which you need to build, community of policy makers, community of like-minded people within the executive, legislative, and judiciary systems. The second thing which we need to really do is build certain kind of educators or content evangelist community which can really talk about where should somebody spend its time? Why should they spend time? Like Abhishek was talking about, we don't go to school to learn. We go to school to get a job. Here also, what kind of educative content with what games or what kind of activities can be created so that we can really create certain amount of hope that if you were to spend your time in this activity, it has an ROI. We are a very kitna deti hai country, right? The third piece, which I think will automatically happen, as Path was saying about the use case, When there are good games, the gamers are the most smart. They are the early adopters, and they will figure out within a game how to really kind of which game to play, which game to become hero, which game to really start figuring out communities. 15 years, I've not seen the early adopters to be taught something. In fact, you learn from them, and you learn those steps and feed it to the point too, that this is the kind of educative content some early adopters are making, and you can press it for mass adoption. So I think all these 1, 2, 3 are kind of intertwined, and they are not sequential, they are parallel. And that's why all of us who are sitting here and are truly looking at Web3 blockchain should look at least a 10-year horizon, if not more. And these are all multidimensional problems which we need to work on, working with different communities and solving it.
Great, great. Sure, Abhishek.
So, I mean, I would not like to comment on the future, because what I believe with Manish, Parth, Dhruv, looking at the policy side, Manish looking at the platform side or the game side, I mean, eventually the future will be bright. What I want to contribute over here is as the community guy. Right now, we need the education to be imparted to the gamers, right? Because gaming industry, I mean, due to COVID-19, I mean, it is a blessing in disguise that all these content creators, they grew so fast. I mean, at the very great pace. Some of these content creators, they don't even understand how to understand the analytics or the tax compliances, right? Right now, what our biggest job is at Trinity is how do we make sure that these guys adapt these latest technologies, and how we can build an army of gaming content creators who are adapting Web3 gaming as and when it comes to India, or as and when it grows in India. So that's how we are placed at Trinity.
Great. Dhruv, you want to say something? Communities, anything on
I mean,
build up?
I think people sitting on the dais already know more about community in gaming than anyone in the country. But at least from my view, I think, as Manish said, correct, like gamers by definition want to create community, correct? Because interactive joy is something that they're looking for, correct? And if you look at India, correct, Orkut, I don't know if people remember Orkut. No one thought that if you create a group, there'll be millions of people that will go and interact on one topic. I still remember there was a Harry Potter group there. It has millions of users from India, right? Indians and Brazilians took over that thing, right? You give them some place where they can interact, have fun, connect to each other, and they can do it recurrently in a safe space. And obviously, if you add monetization on top, I think they'll themselves create communities around it, and they will tell us what they need for that community. So I think that is ingrained in a gamer, in a young gamer. I think we just need to follow their lead and give them enough opportunities so they'll tell us what to do.
Auto engagement, I believe, everything. You just put them together and I guess it moves. So great. I think this has been interesting with everyone's point of views. And I think we've addressed most of the things here, from policy, challenges, esports, from creator perspective, the economy there, the play and earn concept, and finally the communities aspect. I think you guys have been fabulous. Thank you so much. And let's keep going. I think Web3 gaming is the future. We're all sitting right here. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And with that, we come to an end of day 1 of our inaugural Web 3.0 Summit and Awards. Also, we hope to see you tomorrow morning around 9:30, because by 10 a.m. sharp, we begin with the next set of panel discussions, keynote addresses, hopefully a debate as well. And what will follow in the evening are the inaugural edition of the awards for Web 3.0 Summit. We hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you for being a lovely audience, also for staying back and for listening to me as well. Good night. Take care. Stay healthy. Thank you.